Greetings, brothers and sisters. It is our honor to be here with you. It is our honor to breathe your air through this vehicle. The beauty and the majesty of your dimension has for a long time been overlooked, misunderstood, denied, in fact. The delicateness of the human being, the exquisiteness of the human being is something many of you have overlooked. Something many of you have not even been game to face in yourselves. Because there has been some notion, some program that tells you you are less than. That to see the beauty in yourself, the exquisiteness of yourself, is something wrong. All we can see are your hearts. All we can feel is the love within them. Because in a sense, even though you are in this human experience, you are not your body. You are not your emotions, and you are not your mind. It's as if the body, the mind, and the emotions are an overlay of what has never changed within you. And what has never changed within you is what we call the universal spirit, the universal heart, the universal divine intelligence that has never left you, because that is what you are. At your core, you are unchanged. At your core, you are eternal, you are radiant, and you are connected to all things, all of existence. Now, even though the sensations of the human body, the sensations of the human emotions, and the sensations of the human mind grab 99% of your attention, they are transient experiences. The body gets old, the body gets sick. The emotions are good, the emotions are bad. The thoughts are light, the thoughts are dark. You are each cyclic within this human condition, where there is birth, there is life, and there is death. Now the mind has tried to convince you that you can outrun death, that you can purify your emotions to a point you are numb, that you can improve the physical body for how long is impossible to say. But here is the thing, brothers and sisters. You have judged heavily your body, you have judged heavily your emotions, and you have judged heavily your thoughts. And that is what keeps you like a mouse on a wheel, going around and around and around, chasing your own tails, as it were. Because there is no problem with the body, the mind, or the emotions. It is the judgments you have placed upon them that is the problem. Because if you accepted and allowed your body and its natural functions, your emotions and their natural expression, and your thoughts to be like clouds in the sky that come and go, you would each probably be in optimum health. You understand what we are saying here? It is the judgment that causes the disease. It's the judgment that causes the anxiety. It's the judgment that causes the panic. It's the judgment that causes the dysfunctions. Now, because you are habitual creatures, or so you believe, and if you believe that, well, that is what you will be. Because it is so ingrained in you that you are habitual creatures of judgment, the body, the mind, and the emotions have not even been able to keep up with the depth of judgment that is being placed upon them. So here you all are, and may we say, still at the same crossroads as when we saw you last time, because, and do not judge this crossroads has nothing to do with your jobs, your relationships, your destiny. This crossroads is within each of you, where you have the choice to consciously choose through your divine will of love to surrender to what we see in you, to surrender to what has never changed, surrender to what is untouched by all judgment, surrender to the majesty and the mystery and the power of your hearts. You are God, and God is love. It is that simple. And we understand the difficulty of the judgment that you are all swimming in within your society. You cannot turn anywhere without seeing it, without being told to be fearful, without being told to be judgmental, without being told to be worried. But as Brother Min has also stated to you, you are all living from 1% of your consciousness if you are living from your head. No, we're all sick and tired. How can you possibly function on 1% of your consciousness? And not only are you functioning on 1%, but that 1% is filled with programs that debilitate and disempower you as individuals and as a collective force. The 99% of you, that divine consciousness, sits here, right in the center of your heart chakra. And your soul is your personal guide back to that heart chakra. So the first place you need to connect with is your soul, because every initiate, which you each are, every initiate needs a guide. Every initiate needs to know that it is the truth that the guide is telling them. And your souls are your dearest friends and your greatest guides. So it is about coming into relationship with the consciousness, with the guide called your soul. Because it will not let you fall, it will not let you flounder, it will guide you straight to the very core of love itself. Because love itself sits inside of you, or you could not exist. We have said many times, thank you, brother. It is our energy, for this heart chakra is thumping. All right, we have said to you many times that we do not want you to see us separate from you, because there is one thing that joins all of us: inequality, in eternity, and that is love. This idea of hierarchies of spirit have caused many human beings to feel more judged than they ever could do to themselves, because they believe that they do not deserve to have the light of spirit be shone upon them. But you have the same light of spirit that we do inside of you. It's just you have attached to the beliefs of separation, to the belief that there is something more pure than yourself. And we understand the challenge of feeling that purity of spirit when you are in a human body that gets messy, that gets tired, that gets pain. It is very hard for you to connect to the vast space within yourself. But the reason we come to this planet and talk to you is to assist you and support you to understand that you could not even conceive us unless an aspect of us was an aspect of you. It would not be possible for us to even be in communication with you. And may we say, as we have before, it is an exquisite experience for us to bring our consciousness into this physicality, because we do not have physicality as you do. We cannot touch love and taste it and hear it and be immersed in it in physicality. So you should be very proud of yourselves, because your evolution is not based on getting out of this body and into the spirit realm, because you are all being there. It is very comfortable there. But you have been the courageous ones who have taken the experience of love now into the depths and dimensions that it has never been before. You could have all stayed at home in the spirit world. Nothing has forced you here. What has brought you here is your love for spirit, is your love for humanity, your love for this physical dimension of planet Earth. You have all come here to assist, firstly, yourselves, to not evolve as such, but to return to what has always been inside of you. The thing you have been seeking outside of yourselves through people, through relationships, through jobs, through workshops, seeking and searching, thinking, I have it now. And just as you get comfortable and you think you have it now, it disappears. And that has been speeding up. Many of you are feeling so disheartened because you thought you had the perfect relationship. You thought you had the perfect spiritual path. You thought you had the perfect purpose. Your purpose as humans is to remember the majesty of what you have always been and will continue to be before humanness and after humanness. But to also honor this humanness, because we can promise you when you return to spirit and look back upon your humanness, many of you are going to wish to return. Because when you truly remember how exquisite it is to feel physicality of love, you will wish to return quickly. There have been many misunderstandings of what the human being is. But ultimately, the human being is the physical manifestation of love, with the added extra of the ability to remember how divine it truly is, how majestic it always has been. But we are also here to assist you, so we invite questions of any description. We will leave it to you, Pioneer Practitioner, to bring them to us.
Jane?
Greetings, Maitreya. You were talking a lot about judgment before, and I can relate to that. I make lots of judgment every day, but I know about the negative judgment, but I also make what you could call positive judgment all the time. I say, oh, you're a good girl, you're good, to my children, you're a good boy. I make judgment about people in my business. I might make judgment about what's on TV and good and bad. And how do you get out of this about making judgment? Because to make a positive judgment is still making a judgment. You're saying this person is good or this person is full of love, and how do can you give me some practical...
Yes, this is a very good question. Very good question. Because yes, you are still making a judgment based on if you are calling someone a good girl, well, you also must refer to them as a bad girl. You understand what we are saying?
Yes.
And when that person receives that judgment, which they think is in fact a compliment, when they stop receiving those compliments because the ego mind feeds off them, then they start to think they are a bad girl. My mother hasn't told me for a week that I am a good girl, so then she begins to believe she must be a bad girl. This is how your minds work. They are split in two. They are either in the dark or the light, the good or the bad. You see what we are saying?
Yes.
However, there is a fine line between judgment and discernment. And discernment for self comes from self-love. So, let us see for an example. There were beings who came to these doors today, who before they walked through the door felt bad. And that feeling of bad nearly had them turn around and go home, because they judged themselves to feel bad. That had a direct input and impact upon their decision whether to enter into this place today. But something called the soul awoke within them, and love brought them through the door. Their guide, their soul, as they walked in still feeling bad, their guide brought them through the door. And we know they will specifically have incredible transformations today. Love always knows what is best for you. So, as Starlight has said to us, do you understand how difficult it is not to judge? We say, turn it into discernment. It has nothing to do with the being outside of you, whether there is a good girl or a bad girl, a beautiful girl, an ugly girl. It is all still based on your filters and your perception. Because there could be you, dear one, and another one in the room. You see your daughter as a good girl, someone else would see her as misbehaving. So it is a bottomless pit. You understand what we are saying? Because everything is based on your programming, on your past experience. But something deeper called love that begins in the soul can discern for you what is best for you in any moment. Your feelings, in fact, your judgments, have nothing to do with the beings outside of you that you are judging. They are based on how you are feeling in any particular moment, based on any particular experience that has either been denied and is trying to get your attention through this experience with someone outside of yourself, or whether your biorhythms are just all over the place. We are going to say something that your minds are not going to want to hear. But it needs to be said. All your thoughts are false. This rattles the cage of the mind at a very deep level. Because when you come from the perception of the heart, the universal spirit, nothing is judged. Everything is allowed. And it is the restriction of not allowing spontaneous expression, particularly while in the human condition, that causes so much of your violence and your suffering. Because if those children were allowed, through the acceptance and allowance of love, to express themselves fully and not be judged as a good or bad child, most of them would not grow up with the problems they have and the deep psychological disturbances that they must weather. Because love only seeks one thing, and that's itself. You understand what we are saying?
So is it better just to express love and not say anything, like, because you express it with words all the time, you express...
Yes, and words, this is the thing, this is the problem you have. The frequency and force of energy we speak of within each of you, in fact, cannot be spoken. And artists and poets send themselves into madness trying to express it. But it doesn't stop them trying, nor should it stop you. Do you truly see what we are saying here? Your daughter is beyond a good or a bad girl. She is love, just as you are love.
That's what she says, she is love. She says that to me.
That is right. Well, listen, out of the mouths of babes, dear one, she remembers her sovereignty and her true home. And that awareness needs to be cultivated, because her generation, and how old is she now?
She's 7.
She is 7. These are the beings who are going to change this world. And they need you as their elders to find the courage to dive deep into that place beyond thought, beyond form, beyond doubt. Because when you are there, love will speak the loudest through silence. In silence, love is felt. And you are rendered speechless and thoughtless. Now, the mind has told you that that is an impossibility in this realm. We tell you it is more simple than you could ever imagine, because it is your natural state of being through time, through space, through eternity. But here is the trick. The mind is very clever. Do not judge yourself judging yourself. That is the final bridge. You understand what we say. Be an observer of the activity taking place within the mind, within the emotions, within the body. Because you are very powerful beings. You are both the observer and the experiencer of it. But when you believe you are only the experience, you get caught up in it, and it becomes very difficult. So start to practice observation of self. Who is having the experience? Not the eternal love. What is having the experience? The human aspect of you, the shell, the biological bridge, is having the experience. But your true self is simply witnessing it. You see what we are saying?
Yes, I understand.
Thank you very much for your question. Another question.
Are you coming out for a question, Judy?
Sorry, not getting Hold on, brother.
Greetings.
So something that I wanted to share that came through the other day for me, which helped my mind to embody what you're talking about with us being all aspects of each other, I suppose,
Yes.
is that it was more of an image and feeling of us being the very tips of the fingers of the mother in the darkness, reaching out within that darkness to feel her way. And that was a very big shift and movement in me of understanding how connected we are to absolutely everything, whereas before I'd seen it as all still connected but separate parts, I suppose.
So how are you feeling since this observation?
Life goes on.
Yes, it does. It goes on and on and on, and there is no way off it.
No.
You might as well all surrender to this truth. No matter what form you are going to take, it goes on. And the reason you feel weary is because you are having a physical experience.
But it was very nice knowing in the moment.
Yes. There is something else?
I guess there's always questions. Okay. I had a session with Min a while ago, and he and I were discussing some issues I was having with my ears. And I was wondering if you could please shed some light on why I'm holding on to not letting it all go, I suppose, or whether it's just a timing issue.
It is a timing issue, dear one. Let us just have a look for you. All right. The mind, even though it is only 1% of yourselves, is an extraordinary consciousness. It has had a stranglehold on all of you for eons within this dimension. And as we have said before, it still has its place because the mind has a beautiful gift called imagination. And it is here to serve the soul through images put into action. However, the ear problem has come from listening to the head for too long. You understand? If we could say, lend me your ears, we would take them off your head. And laugh. We want you to laugh. Because this is a funny realm as well, trust us, when we look at it. So, we're going to ask you to lend us your ears.
They're all yours.
All right. So now what happens? You cannot get validation outside of yourself for a thought. You cannot hear any nurturing of you're a good girl or a bad girl. You cannot hear the songs of the birds, the wind in the trees, a song on the radio. You certainly can't hear your own thoughts. You can't receive advice. You can't hear a baby laugh. There is something deeper. And it is in fact very loud. It's called silence. And we can feel your heart thumping now. Because that is where silence is found. Let your heart thump. Let your breathing become shallow. Let all the physical things that pull you away from this place, just observe them. Feel uncomfortable in the silence. That will pass. All of you, take your ears off. Come into this silence. Come into this present place. Feel your consciousness gently float like a feather down into the vastness of your heart, into the eternal space of grace. This is where the universal spirit rests. This is where the universal spirit waits. It is not going anywhere. It has never left you. It is eternal presence, where all things are sprung from, including your humanness. Now, if you could sit each day, each of you, and even when the mind throws you curveballs, when the body starts to shake, when the anxiety starts to rise, to let all of those things move through you as you are the observer of them. And you will come into this universal spirit. And radiate this out into your experience, into your world, into your manifestations. You, dear one, if you could do this every day, the issue with the ears will sort itself out. So we are handing back your ears. How do you feel?
All things.
Good answer. All right, thank you. Greetings. We will have one more question.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to further on a question that we went on with the judgment and the love, if I may get a tip from you.
Yes.
And it's a challenge that I have, and it's a challenge that I work on every day, sitting in that space of love. I'm also a businessman, and part of my practice now is that before I start my work, I try to get into that space. And as I convey to my clients or to the people that I deal with, I try to come from the heart.
Yes.
But sometimes it's quite a challenge because it falls out of gear. Because you do it for a little while, then you think, whoop, out it goes. I know it's only just perseverance, but I thought I might just bring that up.
That is another good question, because the aspect of you that you are trying to get into love is the mind. Now the mind is terrified. You are love. You are sitting in love.
I realise that.
Even though you cannot see it, you are all in an ocean of love, because every breath you take is life force. And if you are not breathing, well, you are not here. And that breath, that life force, is in fact love. So, here is a trick of the mind. The mind starts the day and says, well, I am a separate entity from everybody else and I better get into love, otherwise they are going to judge me, number one. Number two, I will judge myself because I'm meant to be spiritual. You understand? Because there is this completely misinformed idea of what spiritual is. Being spiritual is not wearing anything in particular or adorning yourselves with certain jewelry. That is lovely. Everything has a vibration. And that vibration assists with the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental one. Being spiritual, brothers and sisters, is being in that universal spirit. Or shall we put it this way for your human minds? Understanding that that universal spirit is always present in you. And as we said, there are two things going on here. The observer, which is what love is, and the identity of the human, the identity of the ego, the identity of the doer. So, it's very difficult for the doer, the mind, to surrender to the not done, if you choose, the vast presence of observation, of non-attachment. Many of you take yourselves to countries such as India because it is believed it is a spiritual hub of grand consciousness, of which it is, because the mass consciousness there have been in the realization of non-attachment to their human lives, and hence you have incredible poverty and disease. But when you look into the eyes of many of these beings, there is pure joy, there is eternal presence, there is allowance, there is trust. They are not attached to the human condition, even though they suffer. There is something far greater shining through their being. And it is the presence of love that is present in you, as you, for you, brother.
Yes, state of grace, I call that lovely feeling of connection.
State of grace, yes. So it's not about getting your mind into love, because your mind is terrified of it. It will do anything to keep itself out of there because it has a fear that it will be obliterated. But it will not. Its beautiful gift of imagination will start to flourish. So may we suggest that instead of trying to get yourself into love mode, as it were, that you find a place of stillness, of solitude, and you sit and you feel yourself just free fall into this presence. Then we can tell you what will happen next. And of course, you will observe yourself jumping out of there. The mind is very clever. So when you feel yourself jumping out of there and getting frustrated and angry and whatever else, just breathe, do not judge it, and just bring yourself back here. Because when you do, brother, you are going to have inspiration and imagination that will bring many beautiful things to you. And business, may we say, there is a term we use for business, get into business. What you are actually doing is getting into busyness. Look at the spelling. Keeping yourself busy out of your omnipresent space of pure consciousness. Now, the mind will tell you you cannot function in this space. You cannot run your busyness from here because this place is filled with silence and stillness. But we can tell you, you will be floating on air, getting more done because everybody else will be doing it for you. You will be achieving more. You will be seeing your goals of what you truly want shift. Because understand, the mind needs to justify the busyness and the exhaustion and the overtime and the hassles of work, saying, well, when we get this all sorted out, when we are this busy and this tired, it must mean there is a payoff. It will be worth it. There will be a rainbow at the end of the road. But again, that is the mind pulling you out of eternal presence. Because when you sit in eternal presence and allow it to radiate out, everything you require is brought to you. There is no struggle. Everything is spontaneous. You draw out the love in other beings, and there is harmony, and there is co-creation, and there are many surprises, beautiful surprises. You understand what we are saying?
I do. I'm just hoping for the magical pill, but we don't.
Well, there is no such thing. You think there have been, mind you, but it is simply a remembrance. There is no doing involved in this. That is the problem. There is no going there. There is no getting there. It is already there. It's actually about stopping all activity to find it. You see the paradox here?
And we know it's there, we've been told over and over again, but we forget.
Yes, and we are here to remind you. So thank you for your question, brother.
It's a pleasure.
It has been our pleasure to be with you, and may we say the universal spirit we see beaming out of each of you is very tangible, very obtainable, and is in fact closer than your own skin. Because your human experience is actually sitting in the center of universal spirit, in the center of the consciousness of all of existence. We love you. We love you. We love you. Greetings. Greetings. Greetings.